The new prospector.
Never forget the fact that prospects are people. That may sound like I'm belaboring the obvious. Actually, I'm not. In any system of prospecting, before you select which people may be prospects or potential customers, consider all the people you see everywhere. Successful prospecting doesn't depend on any of those people you don't know. You are solely responsible for your own success, and that in turn depends primarily on your attitude or frame of mind. Begin to school yourself right now in the idea that people generally are no longer just people. Actually, they're all prospects for whatever you have to sell. With this attitude firmly implanted, you'll be amazed at how different everyone appears to be. Before long, your change of mind will bring an even more remarkable change, an altered reaction toward what you once considered just a crowd. The people you see aboard trains, planes, and buses, in theaters and restaurants, even the groups of marching men who go swinging down the street in a holiday parade, they've all suddenly changed from anonymous, faceless people to separate individuals, and they're all prospective customers. I practice this attitude constantly. Whenever I'm in an airliner coming in for a landing over a small town or large city, I look down and count every house I can see, not as houses, but as the homes of prospective customers. Once you've established this turnaround truth, people are prospects and prospects are people, you'll notice an even greater change in yourself. The physical action of prospecting, arranging to see and talk to new people every day, will cease to be a part-time chore and become instead a dynamic driving force, an obsession. When this happens, I'll guarantee you're on your way to a permanent career in professional selling. If you're a new prospector, an ideal place to start prospecting is right in your own home. Ask your wife and the other members of your family to help you. First, on a plain sheet of paper, prepare a list of names, an initial inventory of prospects. That is, write down the names, addresses, and telephone numbers of everyone you and your family know. At this point, don't concern yourself with whether or not any of the names you've listed may be interested in what you're selling. You can indicate that information later. Next, from any stationery store, obtain a small file box and at least 500 3x5-inch file cards, plus chronological dividers to fit into the file. Now, transfer the names from the initial inventory list to individual cards. Also indicate on the card any relevant information you may know about the prospect. Where they're employed, married or single, to what club or church they belong, anything and everything that will help to bring that particular person into sharper focus every time you look at the card. You're now ready to start prospecting in earnest, to arrange appointments by telephone, to make each appointment the opportunity for a sales presentation, and to close successive sales. You can do it because you've established a well-ordered system of prospecting.
The Endless Chain Referral System.
By this time, if you've combined theory with productive action, your prospect file should be in fairly good shape. Some of the names may not have produced the results you originally anticipated, but they're worth keeping for future calls and reference. However, in the continuance of this practice, I want to inject a word of caution. Don't allow a large number of prospects to create a false sense of security. It is at the conclusion of a successful sale that you forge the first link of an endless chain referral system. All that's necessary is to ask your customers to give you the names of several people they know personally, people who might be interested in the product or service you're selling. At this point, these names are only suspects. Later on, we'll explain how to convert them into genuine prospects. Don't forget to note your old customers' names on the new prospects card, so you'll be constantly aware of the source of each referred name. Of course, you'll repeat the same procedure over and over again, asking every customer for the names of several new prospects. So actually, they name their own replacements in your file. Multiply this same situation by 20, 30, or 40, and you'll soon have a prospect file that can't possibly become exhausted. Remember, the success of the endless chain referral system depends on your asking for the names of new prospects every time you complete a sale. Assuming that most of your sales work is done during the day or early evening hours, it's a good idea to establish a habit of working on your prospect file, bringing it up to date every night before you retire. This is an ideal time to select the prospects' names you'll contact during the current week, or to telephone for scheduled appointments the following day. The file, at this point, should be operating with optimum efficiency. Name cards filed chronologically for quick reference according to the month, week, and day that a future appointment has been arranged. Another organizational aid that I have used for a number of years in connection with my prospect file is called a weekly work organizer. In appearance, it resembles a pocket-sized flat wallet. Its interior consists of several envelopes or pockets that hold at least 6 of the 3 by 5-inch file cards in separate compartments. With the organizer, you can carry an entire week's schedule of cards arranged in orderly sequence. Several of the major insurance companies and other large industries supply their sales staffs with various kinds of work organizers. Their use definitely increases the cost to clients' efficiency of any salesman. In this initial side of the first recording, we've just discussed prospects' names on the cards and some of the fundamentals of prospecting. In the next band, we'll investigate a systematic method of establishing their ratings.
Rates and ratios.
A prospect's name, address, and telephone number typed on a card and placed in your prospect file doesn't mean much unless the card also indicates a rating. By rating, I mean an indication as to whether that particular person is a poor, fair, good, or excellent prospect to buy whatever product or service you're selling. The simplest indicators are the first 4 letters of the alphabet: D for poor, C for fair, B for good, and A for excellent. Once you've established these relative values and exactly what they mean in terms of prospective sales, you can begin to apply them. One of the most important procedures through which you'll naturally want to screen all of the suspects who may become prospects is this question: do they have enough money to buy whatever you're selling? If they can't possibly buy because of a limited or restricted income, they're obviously not even a fair prospect. There's no use in trying to sell a man a Rolls Royce, no matter how receptive he may be, when his income barely justifies a second-hand Ford. Let's assume that the majority of the prospects in your file can afford to buy. You still can't rate them honestly unless you obtain and consider additional information. Don't forget, prospects are people, and people are infinitely more than names and addresses. A successful prospector may not know everything about a prospect he's never seen, but he obtains enough relevant information in advance to make the first interview highly productive. For example, the following information could hardly be termed comprehensive. John Smith, age 35, married. Before you can rate John Smith honestly, you should know, among other things, how long has John been married? What size family does he have? Their ages and given names. Does he own or rent his home? What kind of car does he drive? Is he a church member? What lodges or clubs does he belong to? How long has he been employed in his present position, and can you estimate his income? How about his hobbies or specific interest in sports? These are only a few of the vital statistics that will help you assess John Smith as a prospect and arrive at a true rating for his name in your card file. Where do you get all this information? In 9 out of 10 cases, from the customer who gave you Smith's name in the first place. Don't expect him to volunteer the information without any prompting from you. You've got to ask for it. Don't vacillate or hesitate. Ask the new customer for every bit of relevant data you can think of. Where does Mr. Smith work? What kind of work does he do? What is his income, marital status, size of family, hobbies, and so forth? Only with the correct answers to these and many more questions can you prepare to call on John Smith, the prospect. Remember, your present customer is the only source of information you have about him. Try to bleed him white for ideas and facts. The more you know about a prospect, the greater the odds for a successful sale.
Stop, look, and listen.
Another powerful system of prospecting is by observation. By that I don't mean casual sightseeing, but careful, calculated observation. As you'll recall, in the third band on the reverse side of this record, I stressed the importance of a master prospector's attitude toward everyone he encounters in his business and social life. I explained how you must school yourself, not just to see nameless people in a crowd, but to observe everyone carefully and to consider each person as a prospective customer. Where are these people? They're everywhere. On the street, in private homes, apartment houses, retail stores, factories, churches, service stations, in automobiles and office buildings. All of these places contain people that you can find a way to meet and know. Once you've altered your frame of mind, trained yourself to mark the difference between just looking and careful observation, your technique as a prospector will slip into high gear. I know because in my own experience it has been one of the most successful practices I've ever used. There are dozens of ways to prospect profitably with observation, and they all work equally well whether you live in a small town or a big city. For example, the next time you walk down the street, pay particular attention to any new construction that's underway. New commercial buildings or new homes mean new people moving into that specific part of town. Each one of these people could become a prospective buyer of the product or service you're selling. All you have to do is meet and know them, and that isn't as difficult as it sounds. When I was selling insurance a few years ago, I bought one of the new instant developing cameras and put it to work in observation prospecting. Whenever I saw a new building going up, I'd stop and take a picture of it, then present the finished print to the foreman of the construction crew. Invariably, he would be pleased with the unexpected courtesy, and his gratitude gave me an opportunity to obtain detailed information about the owners of the project. Then, I'd take another picture which I would present to the owner personally later in the day. This plan never failed to gain several new insurance prospects. On other occasions, I used the same instant picture method to introduce myself to families who had recently moved into some particular residential section of the city. A picture of their youngsters playing in the yard or an action shot of a favorite pet many times provided the necessary informal introduction. I observed, I acted, and I accomplished my purpose. I met and knew someone I'd never known before, someone who could be a prospective customer. The most important fact to remember is this: be alert, observe, analyze, and then act. The principal reason good prospectors are superior salesmen is because they've sharpened their wits to the point where they deal in realities at all times and all places. They've matured their judgment for possibilities to the point where they can observe valid prospects that other salesmen will